let's bring in our friend Garry Cobb. And it's been a very, I would say, troubling 48 hours for the Eagles. By the way, real quick, hopefully you had a great holiday, my friend.
Oh, yeah. Well, despite, but, I don't know that maybe in the long run this winds up being a good thing, but that was awful what happened. That was awful because some of the things, like with you mentioned Slay. How are you going to let the kid on the 3rd and 30? Nobody tells the kid, what are you doing up here faking a blitz? You got the deep half back here. What are you doing? Get your butt back here. Somebody's got to be going off on him. You got veteran players have got to tell young kids, you cannot let them come in there and cost you the game, because that kid I don't know where his head was. That was horrible. But you got to have veteran players step in there and let that kid be up there. Slay, the way he played, that was very disappointing.
You know what, too, Gary? He hasn't really played really good ball, in my opinion, since the first Dallas game. I don't know what it is, but I'll tell you this, and I want to throw this at you here, too. This is what I saw here, and look at the significant. Now we're in a significant conversation about Jalen not being on the field. Now we have Lane out, and I want to show you something here. To me, this is why I got a problem with Shane Steichen. I watched that Buffalo game, Gary, and I watched how Buffalo handled Josh Allen. He threw the ball only for 152 yards, but guess what? They ran the ball for 350 or 250 yards. They blew him out 35-13, and they protected the quarterback going into the Cincinnati game, where they know they're going to have to try to win home field advantage against the Bengals. The game plan that the Eagles have, hey, if it's not open run, they need to do a better job at protecting this guy. Can you imagine, Gary, going from 13-1 to potentially being a wild card team?
I know.
Because you didn't protect your quarterback?
I tell you, this happened gradually. That's why I never was crazy about, fine, you tricking people and everything. Against these good teams, it's not going to be trickery that's going to win. You mentioned the Niners, and that's why, I'm thinking about them. I see a physical team, man, and you got to keep your edge. You got to keep your physical edge. Football's not a nice sport. I apologize to everybody. It's not about nice. And I look at guys on that team, and I see too much soft stuff. Quez Watkins, man, look.
Wow.
Dude, just get lost, man. We cannot have soft guys out there like that where somebody's taking the football from you and you're almost acting like I don't even want to just totally,
no,
stuff
I get
like
it.
that. Never respect anything like that. Where you're out here with us and you don't want to fight for the football. We got no business throwing the ball to anybody like that. You do not belong in our uniform. You are not going to win with that. That type of stuff, and it happens gradually where that seeps in. Like I said, you're tricking people with the amount of people in the box and all that stuff. Look, against good teams, you're not going to be able to do that stuff. You're going to have to get down here, look man to man, and you're going to have to beat that man across from you. That's what you can never get away from that. Like, you do a little trickery and everything, but against good teams, you're not going to be able to trick them and trick your way up to a Super Bowl championships. That's not where it's going to happen. So that's the thing that ultimately you don't ever want to get away from that.
How about this, Gary?
Yeah.
The Eagles are right now in organizational decisions on players, whether to play them or not play them, who's hurt, who's not. Green Bay's in a playoff mode. Tampa Bay's in a playoff mode. Dallas is in a playoff mode.
Yep.
Here we are with 2 weeks left. We're worried about front office decisions on who's going to play or not. Do you think you lose a little focus on where you are in the room right now as you're getting ready for the postseason? There's teams. That's why we see baseball teams sometimes, Gary, that are wild card teams that go on and win the World Series.
That's right.
Because they've been in playoff modes for like a whole month prior to getting in.
You're right.
And they're playing their whole ass off every single night.
That's right.
Do you see a little bit of that over the last couple of weeks here with the Eagles?
If I were coaching and everything, I mean, I'm just always nervous about that. Because you see a tough team's going to come in and beat a soft team. Even if the soft team is a better team, you got to have your edge. You cannot lose that edge in football. You can't lose it because we talk about playing football, but you really fight football. You're really fighting. It's a fight, man. It's a fight. And if you ever get away and think that it's not a fight, then, you're going to get punched in the mouth. And they got punched in the mouth. And I'll tell you what, watch out for New Orleans, because New Orleans they're gonna come in, they're gonna be ready to fight too, because they got nowhere to go. I mean, they're fighting for their lives. See,
they're in playoff mode.
They're in playoff mode. That's right. That's right. And some of these other teams, they're gonna be that way. And the Eagles, they got to go find their edge. And a lot of these young kids, they got to learn what this game is really about. And unfortunately, some of the things that happened, the other day, that was really. I mean, to have just where you just give these guys the game, and I gotta give Dallas credit. Dallas was playing where that defense, they were going after turnovers. They were looking for turnovers, and I gotta give them credit. The Eagles just didn't give it to them. Dallas took it.
Absolutely, Gary.
They took the ball from the guy. You took the ball, and they were they were going after Miles too, like people talk about on that fumble. First, it was Micah going after the ball. He didn't get it. The next guy ended up getting it out of there. They were going after the turnover. They were going after it. And see, you got to play where you are the toughest team on the field. And the Eagles have got to get that. They got to be back to that. Ultimately, I tell you, a tough team will always beat a soft team, man. And I don't care how much trickery you want to try. That's why I never was crazy about the tricking stuff. Because, believe me, it's just like a fight. You got to fight. You got a small ring. You're going to get punched in the mouth. So you better get ready to punch him in the mouth and knock his head off, or you're going to get your head knocked off. And
absolutely, man.
That's where we're at now. It's that time of the year.
Absolutely. Gary, help me out here, man. I mean, I made a comment today about TJ Edwards. I'm going to say this to you. He has been exposed when it comes to covering tight ends. He cannot cover tight ends, and he's a liability, in my opinion, in pass protection. And if you're going to play that soft zone, CeeDee Lamb was running underneath the entire day. I mean, if you're going to play like that and you've got a linebacker who can't cover tight ends, am I wrong when I'm saying that, or am I seeing something? I just don't see it.
I mean, this is the first, he's unfortunate. I mean, they really expose a number of things. Now, as I say, they could be doing you a favor by exposing it. But he definitely was taken to school. I mean, it just seemed like he just was unable to get it done. Now, he had surprised me all year with the way he had played against pass. He was doing such a great job. But that game, that was just an awful game, man. That's why, looking at it, maybe they did us a favor by showing these guys, how, and really exposing things. Josiah Scott, I tell you, that young fella, I tell him, young son, can't play for us. Can't not play for us. I mean, CeeDee Lamb took him to school, and then the kid on 3rd and 30, he does not have enough sense. And Slay was part of it too, because he didn't tell the kid. He's up there faking a blitz on 3rd and 30, and you got deep half. This kid's up there faking a blitz. Are you
not a lot of communication out there, was there?
No, there wasn't communication. I mean, they just the older guys. Come on, you do not let a kid do that. You tell them, look, man, get your butt back there, man. You got deep half. We're 3rd and 30. We don't need to fake these guys. You let everybody know in the huddle. That means in the huddle, guys are not getting it clear about what we're trying to do on each play. So you got to have somebody running that huddle, and that means you got the veterans not doing their job on the team, man, because you don't let a kid come in there and screw stuff up. You don't let that, if you got good veteran leadership on your team, you don't let him come in there and do that. But this kid came in here, he wasn't ready. They obviously he's not doing a good job of looking at tape and being ready, where all of a sudden somebody goes down, they go, hey, get in there. And you go, well, me? Yeah, you've been getting the check. You've been stealing the check. That's what you've been doing. You've been stealing the check because you're not ready to play. And unfortunately, the kid Josiah Scott, he was not ready to play. Hosiah, whatever he not ready to play, man.
Not ready to play here.
Not ready to play. Not ready to play. In a uniform, but not ready to play. That means you've been stealing, because you get a check and you haven't had to play. And then when they ask you to play, you're not ready. That means you've been stealing money because you weren't preparing to play.
The injury to Lane Johnson and the significance of it, especially if it has to bleed into the postseason, is what to this team?
It's going to be another gut check. It's going to be another gut check, man, where they have got to either they're going to move Jordan Mailata to that right side and put Andre Dillard in there. They think he's ready to go. But, I mean, you said it. Come on. Can you go to San Francisco if you got weak tackles? You don't trust your tackles? Even if they're getting help, man, you can't go out there with anybody bleeding. Because I'm telling you, we're gonna find out. And isn't it
Gary,
amazing?
When you do that, Gary, when you move Mailata to the right tackle, so you've got a banged up quarterback now who's got a throwing shoulder injury.
Yeah.
You're going to take your blind side and you're going to put the lesser of the guy on the blind side. Boy, I'll tell you, they got some decisions to make in that building there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a decision they got to make. I can't say I would jump up and do that. But they got to make a decision about how good they feel about the tackle that the kid that they put in there. I forget his name right in, but the kid they had in the other day. Do they trust him to do a good enough job over there on that right side? See, because with Lane, a lot of times they didn't care who was lining up over there. I don't care who the best defensive end in the league was lining up over there. They trusted Lane with him man-to-man with no help. And that's what he did all the time.
You think you leave Goddard over there, Gary, where, get this, to take some of the production away from him? I thought he was awesome in that Cowboy game.
Yeah.
But now what you
didn't go to him enough.
That right tackle, say it's Driscoll, if you put him there, do you keep him there? Because
you're going to have to help him sometime. You're going to have to help him sometime, yeah. You're going to have to help him, or either times you're going to slide the line that way. Yeah. You're going to do different things to give him help. You're not really going to just leave him by himself, because you got to change that. Before, like I said, with Lane over there, they would just leave Lane by himself. They didn't worry about it. They send everybody out. You cannot play that anymore. They've got to have protection over there because, that kid is going to need some help. I mean, he's decent, but we know that when he gets against some of these top shelf pass rushers, man, kid's going to need help, and then you're going to leave Mailata by himself. Then he's going to have to be the one. Now, they did a good job against the Cowboys, but you don't have Lane anymore. You don't have him anymore for a while. Hopefully he gets back. That's not a guarantee, So that's where we are. But that's the way, that's the way football is, man. It just happens so quick to where it seems like they're rolling
Gary,
along.
Do you agree with this? I tell people this. I told them this today. I go, hey, man, it's great to have that record and all, but here to me are the hottest teams in the NFL. Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Bengals. You want to say the Jags? Jags have played great. 49ers have won 8 straight. You can have – the Eagles are not the team they were 2 weeks ago because of the injuries. It's
because
not
of the injuries.
They're lesser, Gary, but they are lesser today because of the personnel that's been missing.
I mean, the Avonte Maddox injury. Look.
I can't believe he's that much of a linchpin.
I know. Come on. Look how that game changed when he left.
Wow.
He started the game, man. He's making plays. But Avonte he's an outstanding cover guy. He's comfortable inside. He can play safety. So that play would not have happened. That 3rd and 30 would not have happened with Devonta Maddox in the game. But you can't do that. You can't say, well, if this guy was healthy, because the guy's not healthy. He's not in there. So no use in sitting around daydreaming about if this guy, whatever. You got to play the people that can go out there and play. So with those injuries, man, it just changes the team like that. And I have to say that as great as Lane is, and Lane he's one of the best offensive tackles I've ever seen, right?
Yeah.
But the injury to Devonta Maddox probably was more effect on the team because the way they utilized, the way Dallas attacked the guy in the slot. They got CD Lamb in there. He's running free the whole rest of the day. And then also the kid got to play safety. They play a 2-deep zone, and this kid can't get deep on a 2-deep zone, and you got 3rd and 30. Are you kidding me?
Completely true. Let me ask you this here. Gardner Minshew's play. Gary, for a guy that had one practice this week and went to a funeral for Mike Leach, came back.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. 355 yards, 2 receivers with 100 yards catching.
Yeah.
I was good with him, man. I mean, look, I think where they missed Jalen the most was in the 3rd down run game.
Yeah.
That's where I think, because the passing game was pretty good. Maybe Jalen protects the ball more a little bit, but your take on Minshew playing?
Well, I thought Minshew played well. The unfortunate thing is, he didn't get help from his teammates, and that's where they had those turnovers. You're not going to win with 4 turnovers.
Correct.
And I can't say they were totally his fault, but he was partially there. But, you got guys that won't help him. Now, he's used to throwing the ball to Quez Watkins because, in practice they throw the ball. Look, you can't throw the Quez, in a situation where it's a contested ball with the money on the line. We know this kid is not a fighter, man. We can't make that, and that decision there, you got to scratch him off when the money's on the line. That kid, he did not fight for the ball. He didn't fight for the ball. And then the other times you had Miles put the ball on the ground. You had the time where there was kind of the handoff wasn't in sync. You can't turn the ball over 4 times. You're not going to win in the NFL. Even against a bad team, you're not going to win. So, they got to get better. They got to be tough on themselves, and they got to turn things around quick because it's going to get serious, and it's going to be one and done.
Here, Gary, let's put that scenario out there then.
Yeah.
What's the most important thing right now, do you think, at the NovaCare Center for those guys? Health or home field? I don't think you can have both, Gary. I think you either, because look, do you want to do this? Mm-hmm. Do you really want to have the last game of the year against a divisional opponent and the Giants have to decide home field advantage? Some would go, well, they killed the Giants the last time. I'm like, well, the Washington first game, the Eagles destroyed Washington. They came back because they know what you were cooking, and it was a different ball game in that second game.
Yeah.
How would you play these next 2 weeks if you're Philly?
Well, I'm going to have a talk with my football team, and I'm going to talk to Jalen Hurts, and I want to know how he really feels. I mean, if he can play, if he can play, then I might have to go with him. That's something I really got to think about. I thought Minshew was capable of generating, and I really think Minshew can generate enough points to beat the Saints because the Saints aren't going to score a lot of points. They don't have the explosiveness that the Cowboys have. So I think I could go into this game. I think I could win this with Minshew, but see, the whole thing is they got to take care of the football. Even against the Saints, if they do not take care of the football, they'll lose the game. So, man, that's a tough one because, if he's not all the way healthy, I don't want him.
Because, Gary, check it out. What's the point of having home field if I don't have Lane and all of a sudden Hurts is banged up more?
Yeah.
And you got Maddox out now for extended period. We still don't know with CJ and when he's coming back.
Yeah, and we need him back too. Yeah.
I mean, you got to look at it like this because you're now cornered in a box. Do I play these guys against a defensive-minded guy in Dennis Allen? Now, they did go for 238 last week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last year, running the ball against them. I'm just saying, I don't want home field advantage to have to come down to the Giant game at the end of the season, even though it's at home.
This is going to be a tough decision. In this game against the Saints,
it's going to be a tough one.
I'm gonna talk to them. I'm gonna have a talk with this team, and I'm gonna tell them. I'm gonna let the team make the decision. I want to hear one of these guys. I want to hear what they got to say. What do they want to do? Because we got to start fighting. We got to fight more, man. We need fighters, and we're gonna have to claw and fight our way out of this. And if we're gonna try to win anything, we got to get hungrier, man. We just got to play harder, and we need to see a different team show up. But because we've lost our edge, and we got to get our edge back. And so I want to talk to this team about how do they feel about this thing, because ultimately, they got to prove that they're the toughest team in this league. Because
you're the second guy that said that today on our network. Barrett Brooks said the same thing. He thought they lost a little bit of that fight the last couple of weeks. He goes, he thought it showed up a little bit. And with Watkins and some of the other things that were going on out there, he thought there was like a focus issue. Like, you're concerned about all these other things and all these other elements now. And I don't believe the Eagles are in playoff mode now. I believe that most of the teams right now that have some experience in the postseason, I think they look it, Gary.
That's right. Well, they've had to be. You've had to be, and sometimes, when you have this good record and everything, it puts it's almost like the coach has got to be the bad guy, and he knows the team starts getting comfortable, thinking they're better than they are. See, and you lose that edge, man, and all you need is a tough game, and all of a sudden somebody's kicking a field goal and you're going home. That's how quickly it happens. You might be the best team, but you don't show up with your best game, man. It's one and done in the playoffs. And I really, however, they got to get a hold of this team. And Jalen's the leader, and maybe that means him coming out and playing, even though he's somewhat banged up. Maybe that's what it needs. But they got to get him. If that's what I got to do, I got Jalen, man. We need you to go.
One last one here.
Yeah,
pretty good accomplishment. 2 receivers going over 1K. Devonta goes over 1K. I didn't think it would happen. It's happened. Just your take on that. I mean, it shows I think it shows the evolution of the passing attack with the Eagles and with Jalen.
I think so. And, A.J. Brown, we know he's a great receiver. He's their number one receiver. They throw to him more than anybody else. But I tell you, Devonta's shown so much in that game. He showed, if anything, he was playing. He was one of the guys playing in playoff mode. Yes, he was playing some great football, and I just take my hat off to him, because look how he's been kind of kicked to the curb or something, but you haven't heard anything out of him. And see, he's kept his mode. At least one of the guys definitely playing with that edge that you need to see everybody else playing with. He was playing in the game against the Cowboys. Devonta Smith, if anybody else showed up, he showed up, and he was playing great. He was making some catches and plays. That was great football. And so we need everybody else in that playoff mode that you mentioned. And maybe we need Jalen to play. If he's the leader of the team, but he's got to help get these guys back into that mode, man.
Absolutely. Gary, great conversation. These next 2 weeks are going to be some of the most interesting weeks for the Eagles on what they're going to do. They're banged up. They're going in a different direction, where some NFL teams, this is where you want to be going in the right direction. I'm not sure. Right. The Eagles are in this direction here. I appreciate it, my friend. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you, man.
You too.
You got it. That's my friend Garry Cobb from Fox 29 in Philadelphia. Make sure you check him out there too. All right. Hit the like button. Health or home field again? That's got to be the conversation going on today at the NovaCare Center. Also got MVP and also Week 16 of the NFL. I haven't hit on yet. We're going to hit on all of this. Keep it here on the National Football Show.
When it comes to the fight against insurance